Hey, what's up, D fam? Welcome back to the greatest Houston based podcast in the world, the Weekly D podcast. I'm your host, Danny G, and today we got a very special guest. She's a singer, she's a writer, an actor, she's a sugar Barbie herself. Please allow me to introduce y'all to Simona Dimov. Hi. I'm so excited to have you on. I mean, it's been almost a year since we met you at Dojapalooza, which was a fun ride back then. But I mean, it's been so long. I feel like we try
No,
to keep in touch, but everyone gets so busy.
well, that's good. Busy is good.
Busy's always good, right? So how have you been? How has life been treating you?
God, amazing. I would say amazing. I cannot complain. I feel like so much happened since Dojapalooza. I feel like it was such an amazing event. I loved it. Like it was so cool to do something for charity.
Hmm.
And my God, I feel like so much time passed. I can't even tell you what I've done. I had so many releases. I released a whole bunch of singles. I released
Hmm.
like a small EP right now. I have another EP coming on November 15th, and I will have releases basically every month, which is super exciting. I've been working in gaming, I've been doing a lot of voiceover, I've been doing some modeling, which is very surprising because I'm 5'3", but I mean, hey, it worked.
It
And
works. Yeah.
I've been writing. I'm working
Mhm.
on a documentary right now. I don't know. I feel like I'm doing so many things. It's all
Right?
entertainment at least. So that's
I think it would have been easier to ask you what have you not been up to.
I have not been up to rehearsing my French.
Okay.
Practicing, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I like we were talking earlier. I saw that you were once a French speaker.
I mean, okay, I would say I'm still sort of a French speaker, but I used to go there every summer. I used to live there for a little bit.
Mhm.
And I think when I moved to Los Angeles, I was so focused on learning English, especially learning American English, that I kind of
Mhm.
really like French in the back of my mind. You know,
Yeah.
it was
Uh-huh.
very hard at first because I didn't really understand anybody. I swear to
Uh-huh.
God, I was watching movies with subtitles. I remember this one time I was in an Uber, and it was this super friendly Uber driver with a very southern accent,
Mhm.
but he was kind of like missing some teeth. So it was so hard for me. I had no idea what he was saying. Like with the southern
Mhm.
mix and that, super friendly guy, and I have no idea what he was saying. But I just like noticed he was so excited about it, and I'm like, okay, I think this is the moment when you laugh. And I'm just there like, ha, ha, ha. I hope he didn't say something really, really horrible. I had no idea what's going on.
Yeah, that's amazing. You know what's crazy as you say that? That's exactly how my wife and I both learned English. I was watching movies and shows with subtitles. Because
Yes.
my wife and I grew up, Spanish speaking first.
Hmm.
So, even though like I was born in America, so like, but my parents were immigrants, and they
Hmm.
only spoke Spanish at the time. So, like, the quickest and easiest way to learn how to talk to the kids at school was to watch
Hmm.
English TV with subtitles. So that's so
It
funny.
was. It's so good. Yeah, you know what's so interesting? Actually, I feel like it's the best when you learn it from native speakers because if
Hmm.
somebody that may not be as good at speaking English, they might teach you mistakes that they themselves make. So
Hmm.
yeah, that was definitely helpful. I watched a lot of The Big Bang Theory.
Really?
Yeah, I because I felt like that seemed just like very American to me. So I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
I gotta learn how to speak like Chinese. And now I don't even know what happens in the show. I was so focused on like pronunciation that I have
Hmm.
no idea what it was even about.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, my go to was Friends. That's the one that helped me
Oh,
learn.
I think
Uh
I'm
huh.
too young for this,
Really?
but
Wow.
I mean, Friends is long time ago.
Yeah, yeah, it was a good while ago.
Yeah, I think it's still running. I think,
Mhm. You can stream it.
yeah,
No, but yeah, that's so funny because every time I meet or English is your second language, every time I meet a person like that, I always like to ask them how what was it that you did to learn and pick it up because
Actually,
I
it's
feel
my language.
really third.
I was I was raised in Germany and I was speaking Bulgarian though because I have immigrant parents. So
Hmm.
I was speaking Bulgarian, and then when I went to kindergarten is when I started learning German. And then later in school, I started learning English, and then I came to the US to find out I didn't speak English. I thought I knew, like, I mean, my vocabulary wasn't the greatest,
Hmm.
and school English and then American English, those are two different things. Like,
Hmm.
I could maybe read a recipe of how to cook something, but it's not, I mean, you get along, but it's not the same, you know? You
Yeah,
don't
especially
humor
with so
too.
much. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying you don't get humor. Like, humor
Hmm.
doesn't translate, so you need to really understand a language. You need to understand a culture and all of it together. You need to understand slang. They
Hmm.
don't teach you slang in school. So if you're watching stand up or anything that's like on the comedy side, I feel like if you're coming from like a more school background, you probably
Hmm.
won't get any of the jokes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. That's one thing school doesn't really teach is how to speak the slang. And then, I mean, America already is way different from Britain and their English. And then on top of that, our slang differs from state. Like if you're in California,
Mhm.
the West Coast, completely different than the East Coast, and just like us here in Texas, like our slang is completely different. So I understand how difficult that is.
I feel like slang also changes from generation to generation. So sometimes it's just so funny when I don't know, when it just like slay or like, oh, she ate. And I'm just there like, oh, I'm getting now like through context what that means.
Uh huh. That's funny, and I'm sure it must have been tricky, especially since, I mean, you're in the writing world now, so I'm sure you understand it a lot better. But I mean, getting to that point, it must have been tricky to learn and kind of pick it up, especially since you came to Los Angeles, which is like the mecca of every mixing pot. It's Hollywood. It's all these things. So you get so many different slangs, so many different kinds of people. It must have been really tricky to navigate through all that.
Yeah, actually. But you know what? I think every kind of slang that I have encountered that comes from a foreign minority seems
Hmm.
very logical to me. Then it's kind of like dialects within the US are kind of like a little different. Like, let's say someone's from Chicago or New York. I'm gonna notice that there's a difference, but I couldn't place which one is in New York and which one is in Chicago. But
Hmm.
I can obviously tell the difference between, let's say, someone that like if they have an accent, if they are from like
Hmm.
a Hispanic country, or let's say it's Germans, they say hello, I know who they are. I'm like, Germans literally, they need to say one word, and
Hmm.
I'm like, so like, I don't know, I have this like German radar. It just every time I hear a person say one word, and I'm just like, hey, are you German? And they're like, oh my god, how did you know it? I'm like, am I offending people by like asking that? But it's always working. I always know.
Yeah. Is it like a very specific accent when they speak English?
Yes,
That.
it just they yes, it's a very, very specific pronunciation.
Hmm.
And I think I get it because, for example, when I speak to people in Germany, sometimes let's say you say something like you use an English word or you want to say a name that's in the US, I will
Hmm.
not pronounce it in an American way. I will pronounce it in a German way because
Ah.
it's kind of like weird when you speak to them. You then say it kind of like Germanish. The same way when I'm in Bulgaria, like
Hmm.
let's say I don't know, let's say I go to McDonald's and I want to order a Big Mac. I'm not gonna
Hmm.
say hi, can I have a Big Mac? Because then no one's gonna understand me. I have to say Big Mac because otherwise they don't know what that means. So when I speak to them, I have to switch. Like it was the same when I was going from German to Bulgarian. I would switch and then I would speak to them in their own accent.
That's so funny. I completely get that though, because me being a Spanish speaker, I have gone through that a lot, like learning the accent of a Spanish speaker, and most of the time I can tell where they're from, like what country they're from, depending on their accent. But
Mm-hmm.
I completely understand what you're saying. Like, a Hispanic will say yumbo yak because they really don't have a hard pronunciation on the J. And I mean, George Lopez wrote probably one of the funniest jokes about Hispanics going through the drive-through trying to order a jumbo jack. But no, that makes so much sense. I should have thought about that before I asked. That was a dumb question. I'm
No,
sorry.
it's just really like they don't understand. And you know what? I also think when you go there, and let's say
Hmm.
you're speaking in this language the entire time, and then you throw in a word, and then you're going to change your pronunciation now to say it like an American way, I feel like people perceive that a little bit as stuck up.
Hmm.
It's just like, oh my God, it's not American. So you're just like, it's the best thing to just switch.
Yeah, I agree. So I was doing a little bit of research on you this week, and I learned that you were the valedictorian in your high school.
Where did you find this? So yeah, actually that is correct. It's funny. I was good at school. I was really
Yeah.
good at school. And now that it kind of like is a little bit in my past, I really don't know why. I mean, it's like, why did I waste my time on that? Just, like, I feel like my mom's still telling everybody, like, oh my God, out of this and this many children, like, I don't, they have like a ranking system in the
Hmm.
region where we're from. And so I was ranked, like, I don't know, I was like within the top people out of, I don't know, was it like 30,000? I don't remember. Like, it was like a really
Whoa.
big number. And they were, I mean, one of them, like, not the
Hmm.
only.
Hmm.
And I remember, it was like kind of like, oh, that's cool. And my mom,
Hmm.
obviously, she told all the relatives, all of her friends, everyone. She probably like called the president herself. I don't know. But now I look back and I'm like, what did I really learn in school? And then I really actually realized the only thing that I learned in school is how to learn. I
Hmm.
didn't learn any real skills. I feel like um I really, really learned like how to do assignments. I learned
Hmm.
how to prepare for a test. I learned how to learn things because right now I don't remember anything.
That's so funny.
I don't know.
And I saw after being a valedictorian, you went to law school.
Yes, okay, so I didn't finish though. So my
Okay.
downfall.
Okay.
It wasn't because I sucked or something, but so basically the way it works in Germany is when you're like 17, 18,
Hmm.
you have your diploma, and then depending on how good your grades are, that's like what kind of studies you can do. And this is why I was accepted in a really good law school. And I thought it would be kind of like Elle Woods in Legally
Hmm.
Blonde. It wasn't. Um, so it was not colorful. It was not fun. It was not creative at all. And I was always a creative person. I just didn't really have access to it back over
Hmm.
there. And the studies in Germany are really long. Like you study like really, really long. I don't know, 7, 8. Sometimes people study 10 years. And so I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this. So I just literally packed a suitcase and came to Hollywood. Like,
That is so crazy. How did your family take it when you
how I,
did that? How did your family take that when you decided to leave law
oh
school?
my God. Oh my goodness. Everyone was just like, how you of all people. And it just so interesting because like, why should I do something just because I'm good at it that makes me so unhappy?
Hmm.
And I never regretted leaving. Right now, everything I do is so enjoyable. And I'm like, what I actually really regret is that I didn't quit earlier. I regret going at all. Like, it was such a waste of time. And I'm not saying it's a waste of time for people that, want to pursue this, but just I'm not a big fan of going to do things for a certificate or for a
Hmm.
degree. Like, does it
Hmm.
make me a better person because I have a degree in whatever? I like, or does it make you better? Like, are you more skilled? Are you what? I don't know.
Mhm.
A lot of people have degrees and they're just collecting dust.
Mhm.
So I don't regret that. I think it's great for everyone. Or I think it's great to study if you study something you love. Like right now, I started going to UCLA and I'm doing more writing classes for film and TV.
Mhm.
And I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have been in a music school.
Yeah.
I wanted to go to acting school actually, and I went to an acting school secretly. So I had a budget per month of like what I'm supposed to use. And I had made this like crazy calculation of like, okay, if I eat this and this and this, I was like planning everything. Like I can buy this and this, like, I don't know, 5 canned beans, one like big pack of carrots, like this much. I had to plan everything so meticulously so that I have enough money left to secretly at nighttime go to a film acting school. So I was
Wow.
going to acting school at nighttime and I really fell in love with it and I had an amazing teacher and he really kind of motivated me and he said, "You know what? Like you're actually really good at like on camera stuff because
Mhm.
I'm probably not that good at theater things." And he told me honestly, there is like not that much work for that over here. So he literally told me go to the US.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, okay, so I'll do that. But then I'm like, okay, what do I tell my parents? And I kind of tried to like switch to remote studies, like making all of these excuses, um, just trying to find a way because I knew they wouldn't understand in that way because it just like entertainment is not big there, especially coming from like a more conservative Eastern European background. It wasn't really accessible, and it also
Mhm.
didn't make sense. Like chances of your career going in any good direction are just pretty low. And so I just moved here, and then I just called them, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm not coming back." And oh my god, my mom was like, they were so mad. They're still mad at me. Everyone is so mad at me that I didn't finish law school, and I'm like, guys, I'm really good. And I mean, I feel like, I mean, literally, I can make more money not being in law school, just saying. and, and, you know, I'm just so much happier. And you know what I love like right now because even though I'm working on so many things at the same time and it can be draining, at the same time, I'm in charge of my time management. I hated that about school. I hated it that they told me when I'm gonna be on break, when I have to arrive there, what class I'm gonna study. I I don't know. I maybe I have a problem with authority, but it just yeah, it wasn't ideal and I didn't regret it. I really
Yeah.
did not regret it. But for writing purposes, I did learn some interesting things in law school. Like um, over there, maybe it was just my school, but people can be really crazy. Like, people would steal books, people would use like those black markers so that, let's say we all have to write an assignment for whatever subject, they would go to the books, take the information, and then like paint it black so that no one
Wow.
can, like, yeah, so that no one can use it.
Uh-huh.
Um,
That's so messed up.
I know. I'm like, that's really not fun.
Yeah.
Not nice. But yeah, and it just what I also honestly didn't like is again, it might be just the school that I was at, but
Mhm.
people had that sense for feeling superior. Like everyone, just because we are in law school and because it's so hard to get in, which oh my god, that reminds me again of Elle Woods and Legally Blonde. Have
Mhm.
you seen the movie?
Yes, I've seen it a
Remember
few
that
times.
scene when the guy comes up to her and be like, "Oh my god, you made it into Harvard," and she's like, "What? Like it's hard?"
Uh-huh.
And I don't know, I thought that was just so funny because everyone in my school was just like, "Oh my god, we're the best. It's so hard to get into this. Only we are special and we're so much better than the people in medicine." And they were just so full of themselves. And
Uh-huh.
I didn't like that. And they would dress in like business attire. I'm like, we're 18. What are you wearing? And one time I was running late and I wouldn't dress in like businessy clothes, but I would
Uh-huh.
wear like a dress shirt. And then one time I was just so annoyed and I was running late. I was wearing sneakers, jeans,
Mhm.
and a hoodie. And again, I was running late, so I opened the door. 600 people turned around and looked at me. When I saw my outfit, they were like, "Oh my god!" Like they were so offended by me wearing a sweatshirt.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, it was. I mean, I don't know. I didn't
So
feel like
crazy.
yeah.
I can, you say that, and I literally picture it in my head, like everyone just turning at you, like, "Oh my god."
Yeah. I also always would get in like arguments with the professors because I would make suggestions to change the Constitution. So he would be like, "It's the Constitution. We can't change it." But I'm like, this result that we had in whatever case it was, that just wasn't fair. And everyone agreed that it wasn't fair, but no one wanted to change the law or the Constitution.
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, well, just an idea.
Probably full of good ideas there. Sure,
Yeah, they
there's
like
tons of
to
laws that
show
could
that,
got
like,
changed.
show the young spirit. Yeah.
I can see that happening in law school. I mean, that's the last place you think a creative person would be in, because it just seems, when you picture law school, it's just so like black and white, super down to business. Like it doesn't
Hmm.
seem like it'd be a lot of fun.
I was like brainwashed into this ever since I was a kid.
Hmm.
Um, they would be like, "Oh, you're so outspoken. You should be a
Hmm.
lawyer." And they would repeat this and repeat this. So then I had like this whole idea of like I'm gonna be a lawyer, but in my head, I thought I'm gonna be a justice fighter. I
Hmm.
thought like that was one of the biggest things. I thought I would be there standing up for people, helping people that need it, working on like crazy cases against corruption and against the mafia and against all this stuff. And then once I started to study this, I'm like, I don't really think that's what I'm going to be doing. Like, I don't think that's how it goes. In my head, it was all a movie. And in reality,
That's far from that. So did you? Yeah. Did you grow up watching a lot of movies, or what inspired you to want to be an actress?
I, you know what? I loved acting ever since I was a kid. I loved music and singing ever since I was a kid. I was songwriting when I couldn't even write. So I would just come up with like songs
Hmm.
and I would act like even by myself in front of the mirror. I remember this one time I'm standing there, I don't know, I'm like 5, and I'm coming up with this cool dance and like this song, and I'm doing this. And I didn't realize my uncle was watching me. And then I come out, and I guess I had done it so many times. He knew the song. I'm like, oh, so it's catchy, huh? So he knew the song. He started like miming me and like making fun of me. And I was so embarrassed. But even then I would come up with music. I would come up with I would anytime I would have like a school play, I would always be part of it. I would always try to be one of the like lead characters. I would write my own plays even when I was really young. And I had this other friend, she was also very creative. So we would write plays together and we were like in second or third grade. We would write plays and then
Uh-huh.
we would force the school to make it happen. And they would like work like on sets and everything for us. And we're like, yeah, duh. And we would, she always wanted to be like playing male characters,
Hmm.
but it was super funny. Yeah, we would always do, yeah. Actually, now that I think about it, I feel like when I was younger, like in school, they actually gave you a platform to be creative. Then when you get older, you kill all of it.
How'd you have your fun while you're young, huh?
Yeah, I really, really love art ever since I could think.
Yeah.
But you know, Germany is also a country that's very, cars are great here, chemistry, everything is very like strict and precise, and there is a lot of art. I mean, Germany is the country of thinkers and writers, like back in the day. But growing up, I felt more of the very strict vibes, engineering, everything like that's more serious and not creative. And also the other thing is lessons and stuff like this are also very expensive. So not everyone has access to resources like that.
Hmm. Okay, that makes sense. And
Mhm.
how did you get into like actually doing music? Because I mean, I can see writing and acting from school, but music's like a whole nother little piece there.
Um, okay, so first of all, I always wrote poetry. So I was used to writing kind of in like a similar to music format.
Hmm.
And then I really like had so many artsy ideas of music videos that I wanted to do. And I'm like, okay, well, if I want to do a music video, I need a song.
Hmm.
And I started writing and all of this, and I thought, okay, maybe this is good. Maybe this is good. And then I started hanging out with so many musicians, and they just really inspired me to do music. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I can do this. But then I had the problem that I was scared to sing in front of people. Because of like the situation with my uncle that I told you, where I was
Uh-huh.
like so embarrassed, I was terrified to sing in front of people. I was not like one time. I think we have like a creative concert in I don't know 6th grade, and I
Hmm.
was studying "Since You've Been Gone" by Kelly Clarkson, and I'm like, I'm gonna perform this. And so I swear to God, I was like, I don't know, I don't have a mic right now, but I was standing there like this, and I'm like, this was my performance. I could do it so good at home, and then I'm standing there. I couldn't do it. I had this blockage of not being able to sing in front of people because I thought I sucked. And then I did vocal coaching,
Hmm.
um, like right before the pandemic, and I had an amazing vocal coach, and he, like he first started teaching me matching notes, and he made me sing. Like how is he gonna coach me if I don't sing in front of him?
Hmm.
And then he would tell me, "Oh, this sounds great." So we would do recordings. And first, it was weird to hear your own voice, but because honestly, and very honestly, because he said that I did a really good job, I started believing.
Hmm.
And now some people are gonna be like, "Oh my gosh." But and from there on, I started having this confidence, and then I could work with producers, and
Hmm.
I would, I always wrote all of my songs. Like I write lyrics, melodies, and everything. So sometimes not every producer might be right for every song. So I would stand there and like sing my heart out, trying to show them like the songs and be like, "This is it." And then sometimes they're like, "Eh," and then they gravitate towards a song that I actually don't even like that much. But you had to get over, like I had to get over this fear, and then the pandemic happened, and before I like so before the pandemic happened, I had a radio interview, and there was a DJ that I connected with,
Hmm.
and it was promoting a feature film that I had shot. And so we connected, but like just like over social media. And then when the pandemic happened, I'm like, okay, everything's closed. I can't do movies. I can't do anything. I'm like, you know what? I have all of these songs written. I had hundreds of songs that no one has heard, that no one, like, that don't exist really outside of my head. And so I was like, okay, you know what? Now is the time to like do this. And so I reached out to his DJ. I'm like, hey, do you know a producer that would want to work? And he's like, yeah, I actually do. And so he set up a FaceTime because he lives in Orlando, and I was doing the FaceTime with my producer. And I remember, I'm like, I don't really know how this works. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say. It's the first time I'm going to work with a producer. And he basically kind of like asks me something like, hey, why should I work with you? And
Hmm.
I'm like, damn, I don't know. And I'm like, well, I really want this. And he's just getting bored and like yawning and whatever. I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, let me just show you something. So I just started like doing my songs, like stuff that I've written, and he's like, "Whoa, it's a vibe," and he liked it. He's like, "Okay, let's start working."
Awesome.
Before, everything that I said was just horrible. I don't know, I was the most boring person I guess he ever met, and and so then I started working with him, and I just fell in love with it because I felt like um I can sing my emotions out,
Hmm.
because I feel like, I mean, that might just be me, but when I feel like, let's say I feel sad or I'm like super hyped or whatever, I'm not gonna just go and do like a sad monologue by myself at home. That wouldn't really be something that would help me. But
Mhm.
writing and making songs, like I would really feel it, like especially with the right instrumentation. Um, does that answer the question? I feel like
Yes.
I said so much.
No, I mean, that's so interesting. I love your response to that question. And you said you write all your songs, right?
Yes.
And you work
Hmm.
with a producer now. That's amazing because I remember seeing you at Dutch Palooza, and you did not seem like you've ever had stage fright in your life during your performance.
Oh my God. Well, it was, I feel like every artist has that fear of rejection. And I definitely think it was because in my childhood, that rejection came from people I love. And so, yeah, I was definitely scared. But then, you know, once I started performing, um, I I can't really explain it, but it's like I don't remember any of it. It's like when you have your outfit that you feel confident in, you have the songs that you at this point like might always change, right? So when that happens, you kind of become like a superhero, and it's almost like an out of body experience. I literally remember my very, very first performance that I did. It was on Hollywood Boulevard at Madame Siam. It's a
Okay.
club over there.
Hmm.
And I remember I think I did two songs. I don't remember, like, do you know these videos where everything is sped up?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
This is how I was experiencing everything. I felt like I'm moving like this.
Yeah.
And I guess I moved normally, but it just seemed so fast. Like, it was like, and then
Uh-huh.
I did this, and I'm like, that's it? I'm like, I can do this? Put me back on there. I don't want to go. I need to go back. It was, I was having such a good experience. And
Uh-huh.
the same at Doge Palooza, I have been lucky that anytime I have performed, I've had very good audiences. I mean,
Mhm.
um, people were either really into it or they were at least neutral. So it doesn't really make you feel a certain way because sometimes, and that's very rough to see,
Mhm.
audiences are really mean to artists.
Yeah.
And it's just like, how about you go and stand on that stage and do this? It
Mhm.
just um so yeah, that I yeah, I don't know what happens. It's just I guess there's something in there that
Yeah. No,
switch.
I understand it. You get like a performer's high. I've heard people explain it as that. Like
Mhm.
you're there and you just feel like you're on top of the world. I'm sure as a singer, you're controlling the room. You're seeing how everyone's reacting. So I'm sure that it's such like
Yeah.
a heightening feeling. We actually had a comedian last week on here, 2 weeks ago, and he was talking about that, explaining how he gets the most amazing feeling in the world when he's telling a story and he just takes a pause and he hears that everyone's just quiet, waiting for him to say the next thing. And I thought that was such an interesting way to put that feeling, right? Where you're just like controlling the whole room, and I'm sure you just feel like you're the king, the queen of the world at that point.
Wow, I think that's so smart. I love that. Well, now that I think about it, like since you brought this up, I think I was also always very scared of exams when I was in school. And you brought up like the dream, but that's I mean, but, um, but to get to that point, like I was like just collecting points and points and points on every exam. I have never failed an exam in school, like never. And even though I've never failed an exam, every single time before an exam, I would become like I'm pale. I
Hmm.
would be nauseous. I wouldn't sleep. I would feel like my heart is going to beat out of my chest. I would feel like I don't know anything. I'm sitting there. I'm like, what if I don't know anything? What if I don't know how to do this? I would have like complete panic attacks. Then I do this. I walk out of the room. I don't remember anything. Same
Hmm.
thing with performances. Before that, I get so nervous. I get so nervous.
Yeah.
I literally am like about to vomit. And then
Uh-huh.
And then once you do it, I don't know what happens. It just feels like some kind of release, but in the most positive way.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's. I feel like that's perfectly said. I wish I understood that a little bit better. I mean, the closest thing I've ever had to that feeling is I used to be a mechanic and I was a master engine builder, so I used to rebuild engines. And I would feel the same exact nerves every time I would build an engine, and I knew I did everything perfect. I would still always feel like I was about to throw up when I was about to touch the engine, because like you did it right, you can do it, but you just want to make sure it runs and you're good to go. But that's the
Yeah.
closest thing I've ever been to that feeling. Is just the nerves I would feel when I would have to start that engine for the very first time.
You know what? I feel like that's also a kind of respect towards the art or
Hmm.
task. And I feel like when people get too confident in what they do, that's when they
Hmm.
make mistakes. Like
Yeah.
people that, let's say they've done something a million times and they think they're on top of the world and they're so much better than everyone and they know it so well, that's when they become like negligent. They make mistakes, there are errors. And I think it's good to be nervous when you're doing
Hmm.
something that's important to you, or I don't know, like let's say you're a pilot. I hope you're taking it seriously when you're flying people. But um, I feel like that shows that you really care.
Hmm.
Because if you're just like, oh, whatever, I'll just figure it out, you're not like taking it that seriously, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's perfectly said. It's a good way to put it.
Mhm.
So, next question, Simona. How would you describe your music?
Mm,
Like, if you had to describe it in one
okay.
word or one phrase.
Um, I would say almost like a split personality or bipolar in a not mental way. But right now, I had a release right now, right? The Sugar
Hmm.
Bar release. And then I have a release November 15th. And then I have, like, as I said, I'm going to do monthly releases,
Hmm.
like about monthly. And the music is kind of two different people. One part is very upbeat, very confident, very sassy. The
Hmm.
other part is kind of more vulnerable, a little bit more introverted, and I guess you could say a little depressing or jaded or damaged. Um, and yeah, that's because, I would say it just layered and it has different facets of me because every human has so many facets. Like when you speak to, let's say, a sibling, or then you go speak to your mother, you're not going to be the same person. I mean, I
Hmm.
hope so. And then you're with a person you're in a relationship with, or your teacher. You have those masks almost for every single
Hmm.
person. And it's good that you have so many different versions of you. But I feel like sometimes artists tap into one thing that they're good at, and then they
Hmm.
just stay there. And I feel like I just personally, I love so many different styles of music. I feel so many different ways. Some days I feel like I'm having the best life ever, and another day I might be crying like crazy because of, I don't know, probably a dog. Probably. So
Oh,
so
come on. You can't let guys break your heart. You're that
okay.
beautiful. I think you're the heartbreaker in that situation.
God, I wish, I wish. Maybe. I hope not. Actually, no, I don't wish. Let's like, I used to think when I was younger, when I was in high school, I
Hmm.
thought it was so cool to break hearts. I thought it was like the coolest thing because it kind of like gave me some power, I guess.
Uh-huh.
Now I really live by the motto, if I cannot bring anything good to your life, I don't want to be in it. I don't want to do anything like where I influence people in a negative way. And I
Hmm.
might have done that at times. So I would just rather distance myself and allow people to not have a toxic attachment to me
Hmm.
or any kind of negative feelings. But yeah, this is why I would say my music is split because I gotta have music for every mood, to have something to cry to, something to, I don't know, to dance to, something. And another reason why I think I'm having those two versions is also because I work with different people. And if
Mm-hmm.
just, let's say, I work with someone who's really good at poppy sounds, how am I not going to make a song when I love the sound? And then I
Mm-hmm.
meet someone else and he's very good at like those kind of like smooth, chill rock sounds.
Mm-hmm.
But when I fall in love with it, I need to make the song. I can't
Yeah.
now say like, hey, well, my last release was very poppy, so now I can't do this. Like, yeah, I can because it's true to me in that moment.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Wow, I like that. I
Yeah,
like
I
that.
can't wait to see what you think about all of the upcoming releases. And it's it's kind of weird as an artist
Mm-hmm.
to when you do releases because a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, the music that you're releasing has been done for a long time. So
Mm-hmm.
you're already working on 5 other projects and you're doing something completely different sonically, but
Mm-hmm.
then you're releasing something and promoting a track that you did a year ago.
Mm-hmm. Does it feel like it brings you back to that moment when you listen to those older tracks?
Oh, yes. I always remember why I wrote what I wrote. I remember where I recorded it. I
Mm-hmm.
remember how I felt. For example, the Sugar Barbie song, I remember it was, I usually don't do late night recordings,
Mm-hmm.
but I was so mad. I was so mad. I went in there, I completely recorded this with no autotune, almost in one take. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, okay, that's it. I need to go home and sleep. Like, it was just I was just in such rage that day. That I remember, yeah, it was pretty funny. Um, and we actually didn't like. So the producer is a friend of mine from Germany. So
Mm-hmm.
I had to remotely record it here, and I don't know. It was an error that happened. It wasn't planned to have me record without autotune because there's usually nowadays always a little bit of autotune on
Mm-hmm.
it. It's standard. So it wasn't planned to not do it without, but we did a mistake or somehow
Mm-hmm.
it happened, and then I sent it over. And my producer's like, "That's tight. We're doing this. That's it."
Oh, that's so interesting. That's so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, and yeah, it was fun. It was a fun
Yeah.
song. It was very like I feel like sometimes people might misunderstand that my my music is very pro women,
Mm-hmm.
even though I think sometimes it doesn't come off that way. But usually, like the overall theme is more like no matter what guy, no matter what circumstance, I'm gonna feel good. You're not gonna break my heart, and then they go ahead and do it anyways. But um, I feel like this is the overall thing that connects every single song, and it doesn't matter what genre it is.
Mm-hmm.
I never wanted to, compete with other women. I know some women are like that,
Mm-hmm.
and I actually wanted to like I want what's for me,
Mm-hmm.
and if I can't have that, then whoever picks it up.
Oh, well, that's good though. You're having fun with your music and you're making music you like. I feel like that's the most important thing as an artist or in anything you do, right? When you're doing something you like, someone else is gonna like it. Like
Yeah.
I'm a very big believer of that. Like whatever you like, if you make it for yourself, there's gonna be someone in this world that's gonna like it, and then someone that knows them is gonna like it. And I find art so fascinating on how that works, right?
Hmm.
When you're true to yourself, it tends to do a lot better because there's always people that I guess gravitate towards genuineness.
Hmm.
And then if the art's great, like it always does way better. It's so interesting to me.
Honestly, I really had to learn this because, especially in the beginning, everyone was in my ear, and people would be like, "Oh, you need to do this. You need to do a song like this. Do a song like this. Don't sing like that." don't sing like this, sing like that, don't sing at all, just talk, just maybe rap, do this, do that. And I'm just like, well, right now I feel like I want to do this and that. No, you shouldn't do it, you're not good at it. And it's like, okay, but I feel like if you really believe in something,
Mm-hmm.
you will make someone care, or you at least have the opportunity to make someone care. And a lot of times, like, even a lot of songs that I like,
Mm-hmm.
later on I was kind of like analyzing them. I'm noticing that actually doesn't sound that good. Like, I'm thinking, oh, that person could have maybe like had a better vocal performance,
Mm-hmm.
but it has that feeling and that emotion of that person. I
Mm-hmm.
actually like that it's slightly off in some way.
Mm-hmm.
So, and who am I to say to somebody you should or you shouldn't do something? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
unless it, like if it hurts someone else, okay. But I I don't think people should tell you what to do, because if you love it, that's
Mm-hmm.
good enough. If you really love it, someone else will. But if
Mm-hmm.
you're indifferent or you're just doing something because someone else tells you, how is someone else supposed to like this?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's so well said. And it's funny you say that, how you were saying that the song was imperfect, because that reminds me of like one of my favorite bands of all time is Sublime.
Mm-hmm.
And Sublime was never like clean cut. Like the singer was good, but he wasn't great. But every time you listen to the music, like they had such a vibe that you can feel that it's a genuine thing, that they're just having a great time, making that music and recording it at that moment. So that's really interesting, the way you put that.
Yeah, I actually love hearing people's voice crack because they're
Hmm.
in an emotion. I'm not a fan of perfect,
Hmm.
even though I feel like every day I would like everything to be more perfect in
Hmm.
my personal work. But when it comes to other artists, I never like perfect. I
Hmm.
actually like seeing the imperfections, and um, as long as other people feel the same way, I feel like you can discover so much more art.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's
The
true.
person,
Especially,
like, um, if it was perfect, I don't know, it would be like AI or something.
or
Even
it'd
though,
be boring, right? And
yeah,
and get boring. Especially if it was AI. I don't think AI is that good right now.
I'm not. I'm.
And
Mm.
I mean, you're a writer in Hollywood, and in that world of entertainment. How do you feel about AI and like the way they've been trying to implement it in movies and writing?
Well, I've been doing a lot of different story writings for other people as well and
Hmm.
helping them. And it's so funny because they're like, oh, just use AI to help you. So I'm like, okay, I'll try. Oh my goodness. I was, when I saw what AI gave me, I'm like, okay, my job is safe. I will be totally fine because I think AI kind of works if you're writing something more corporate, I
Hmm.
guess, or something that's purely based on information. But anything that's supposed to have character is not going to work. And
Hmm.
some things, like the good things that you want AI to do for you, they don't do it. I one time was saying, I was sitting with someone that I really care for. And
Hmm.
so we were next to each other, and I'm asking AI, hey, can you tell him that he's an asshole? And AI literally said, that's not a nice thing to say. No, we cannot give you a way to explain that to him. I'm like, wow, they refused the task. Um, I, yeah, it just sounds, it really just sounds like a robot wrote it. This is
Yeah.
why I haven't been concerned about it.
Hmm.
Um, it's missing that human touch, and at the moment, from what I've been seeing, I don't think technology can replace human emotions, feelings, and and I feel like we cannot explain what
Hmm.
makes someone an artist. We cannot explain how someone has that crazy vision of some sort. How do they?
Hmm.
We can't really explain where those ideas come from. So I feel like it will be very hard for AI to replicate that if we don't even understand where this comes from. Like, where does creativity come from?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's really interesting. I agree with you though that AI isn't all there yet, and even like the videos. I don't know if you've seen TikTok or if you have TikTok,
Hmm.
but TikTok is starting to have a big like breakthrough with AI videos of like Joe Rogan saying something or like big
Yeah,
podcasters or big
yeah.
names. But then if you listen closely, it sounds so weird because it sounds like he's reading a script, but he's pausing at every desk at every period, and it just
Hmm.
like the cadence isn't right. And I mean, you can obviously tell it's AI. I find it so interesting, especially because I was reading about it, especially when the SAG and the Writers Guild had their strikes. I was trying to learn more about like why they're trying to implement AI, and I found it really interesting that some studios want to scan actors and their faces and do the AI that way. And
I
like you being an actress, like I really want to know your thoughts on that.
Okay, that's so interesting because I actually did that. Um, I'm working on a virtual project basically, and like they scanned me, but right now, or they're like creating like a virtual version of me. Um, and I remember, I remember it was so funny. So I had a really amazing, huge listening party, and this came up, but the place is so big. There's so many people in all corners.
Hmm.
And I'm just like doing something, and I hear at the very end, like there's so many people everywhere. At the very end, I'm just hearing the sentence, so one day when Simona isn't young anymore. And I'm like, what is happening here? So I run there. I'm like, what did you say? They look at me. They're like, how did you hear this? You were on the other side. I'm like, I have radars for this. I know exactly. Like, I know something was happening that I don't like.
Uh-huh.
And basically, it was about like, oh, this virtual version of you will preserve your essence. And I'm like, hey, I hope like you guys like me still when I'm old. But um, it was so interesting because another part of that is that you can record voiceovers, and then if
Uh-huh.
you like, let's say you do a video game or something, this you don't even need to be there. You you're getting paid for all of this, and I just feel like in my case, I had a very like cool team that I work with, and they are very fair and have morals. So I'm not concerned about working on a project like this. I feel like it's more concerning when people are forcing actors to give them their rights, when they're forcing them to do things that they just don't want to do. If you want to do it and you're protected, why not?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. That right, and we're back. Sorry about that. I had a knock at the door. I had to go take care of it real quick. But back into what we're talking about. I really find your perspective on AI so interesting, and the fact that you did a virtual scan. Like I feel like you're always trying to stay one step ahead of the game because I mean, just talking to you today, like I really get that you're like trying to stay one step ahead and catch that wave. That's so interesting. And you have no fears about AI, like them trying to use it without your permission.
Honestly, no. I mean, I feel like I would rather be concerned about people doing things with AI that you don't know, because it will be very, like, let's say I know who I have given rights to, I know what they plan on doing. So I have access to, like, I can see their platforms, I can see where things are on. So if there was anything against my will, I would immediately see because I'm like following it and everything. I think
Hmm.
it's more concerning if people can use AI with you as a character or a face where
Hmm.
you had no part in it, where you haven't been scanned, where you haven't given anyone any permission, like those deep fake I don't know what you call them.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I find that very concerning just because I feel like it can be very image damaging, especially because let's say you make a fake video of you saying something that in some way is damaging to you. there are always those people that have seen it and they're like, no, 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 I'm sure this is real. I'm sure this is real.
Mm-hmm.
And um, I feel like that's very concerning. Like that
Mm-hmm.
people try to either, I don't know,
Manipulate.
yeah, yeah, use you, maybe make profits,
Mm-hmm.
monetary benefits. That's more concerning. The rest, I mean, technically, there's always something that can happen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even in movies, sometimes you film a scene and you might not be aware of the angle that it might be very revealing.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they might not tell you. And then you see it in the movie and you're like, you guys didn't tell me that you were showing my underwear the entire time. I think that
Mm-hmm.
happened to Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. The cherish scene, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
they tell the actor one thing and then the reality is very different. I had a friend going through something similar,
Mm-hmm.
and this happens on, like it can happen anywhere
Anywhere.
with AI, it can be a movie set, it can even be at your job. I mean, at like a regular job, anything.
Mm-hmm. I guess one thing, thinking about it now, like with you doing AI so early and doing that virtual scan and knowing who has it, I guess in a way it's easier to track, no? Because
Yeah.
there's real like real license of parts of your image already used. So if it
Hmm.
were to pop up on the internet, I'm sure if someone like faked it or stole it, I'm sure it'd be a lot easier to track and more easier to
Yeah.
build a
And
case
I
again.
think the guys that I'm working with, they
Hmm.
are just like, they are so about their product and their ideas that
Hmm.
if they would see that someone uses their work, oh my God, they would go, what was that movie? Was it Taken?
Uh huh.
Where he
What do you
goes
call
to
it?
bring his daughter back.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
They would go Taken mode and be like, give us our AI back. And yeah, maybe the only kind of questioning part is I don't know where all of this is at legally, because
Hmm.
usually when there's a new invention, laws take a little longer.
Hmm.
So I hope that they can kind of figure out some protection for people early on.
Yeah,
Yeah, there are risks in everything you do. I mean, you want to live risk free. I don't know, never
you're not
leave
gonna
your
live.
house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not gonna live. No, that's so true. No,
Hmm.
that's so interesting. I'm so curious how the rest of it's gonna play out, like later down the line, right?
I
Because
don't know.
I
Yeah.
mean, with you doing it so early, I'm sure there's a lot of benefits to it. Just like there will be later down the line. I don't know. It's a really interesting topic to me. I'm glad I finally got to talk to someone in that world. To really ask that question.
I just feel like everything is in such an early stage. I have
Hmm.
no idea what it's actually going to look like, how it's going to be used. I feel like right now people are kind of trying to secure rights and product because I don't even think the people that are involved in this, they don't even know what's going to happen. Who's
Yeah,
supposed to know what's going to happen?
yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like NFTs when they came out. Everyone was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, what is that?"
Mhm.
That was the new shiny thing.
Mhm.
But anyway, Simona, we got to know you quite a bit today, and I really want to thank you for coming on the show. This has been a lot of fun. It was very interesting. The topic on AI was interesting, and I want to know, like, what projects are you working on now? What are you excited about? I know you're releasing music once a
Mhm.
month, which is extremely exciting to always get new music from you. But what else is in the plans that you can talk about?
Okay, first of all, thank you for inviting me. Actually, it was so fun. I had so much fun when we did the first podcast like a year ago.
Hmm.
So right now, November 15th, I have a new release. It's called Figaro. But right now I have my Sugar Barbie EP. I have my single Pretty Girl Sins, which I love. I have my single Why'd You Hate Me and all of the music that's
Hmm.
coming up. I'm working on the game Fire Sky. It's a fantasy game and it's basically like dodgeball with fireballs. It's super fun. You can look it up. It's announced and I'm basically the spirit guide and I tell you, all of the crazy things about the crazy backstory about the worlds and how, like, it's basically a, even though it involves gods and all of this, it's a very human story. You have the ups, the downs, the battles, all of this. It's really cool. You can look it up.
Yeah, it's so
And
much fun. We'll look it up, and I'll definitely have Alan, add a screenshot of
Mhm,
their Twitter on the screen
mhm,
and post. That's so exciting. You're doing video games, you're doing music.
mhm.
Um, it's amazing. This has been probably one of the most fun and interesting podcasts I've done in a while. So
Oh, thank
thank
you.
you again for coming on. It's been a pleasure, and I hope you come back someday and we get
Yes,
to do this
thank
all
you
over again.
too.
Yeah, of course. It's been so much fun. I mean, you've always been great vibes from the first day we met you at Doge Palooza. It was very enjoyable. You're very pleasant. You're fun to talk to. You're interesting. And yeah, this has been a great podcast. Thank you so much. Right now, I'm gonna give you a chance to just promote yourself. Tell people where they can find you. We'll put on the board behind me. That way, everyone can see it. And it's your time to shine. Tell the people where we can find you.
Hi guys, it's Simona. You can stream all of my music on Spotify, Apple Music, everywhere. Follow me on Instagram. It's at Simona Dimov, or on TikTok at official Simona Dimov. I am super excited for all of my new releases, and I hope you stream Figaro November 15th.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Simona.
Thank you, and
This has been
congrats on getting
wonderful.
married.
Thank you so much. I'm such a lucky guy to be married to my wife.
Oh,
Um, and yeah, thank you for coming on. Has been so much fun. It's been great catching up with you. We'll definitely be looking out for your new music. We'll be looking out for new projects. If you ever need help promoting something, just shoot us a message on Instagram,
thank
tag us.
you.
We'll be more than happy to share it around to our followers. Thank you again for listening. And everyone, thank you for tuning in, for joining us, for listening to this podcast. If you like what you heard, give us a thumbs up, give us a 5-star review. Go follow Simona on all social media. Go stream her music. This has been the Weekly D. I'm Danny G, and thank you guys for listening. Bye.